Welcome back to the Plays with Cars YouTube channel and another episode of Project Porsche. This is the results video, so you're not going to see anything on screen but paperwork. So, yeah, fair warning. Anyways, we're going to start off with event number 1. These are the results for class. We have super classes in our local region, so they combined like a lot of the street classes into 3 different street indexes, and they've also done the same thing with the non-stock or non-street classes for all these little classes because we just don't have enough participants otherwise. So in Street 2, which is the class we are in, we have C Street, which is the Porsche, E Street, D Street, G Street, and H Street. And then what they do is they take your raw time, they apply the PAX modifier. For those of you unfamiliar with autocross, PAX is this really esoteric thing. At Nationals every year, the car that wins, they take all the winning times of all the different classes and they go, well, what formula would you have to use in order to make that car run the same time as a faster car? But it's not exact. It's not like, well, if this, if C Street was 1.5 seconds faster than E Street, then you adjust by whatever that percentage is. It's not quite that. Like, they look at overall results and all this other weird stuff, and there's a ton of theory about it. But anyways, SCCA National releases PAX numbers for every season. We have updated numbers for 2019 based on 2018. So they apply those modifiers, and there's a different one for each class, to the raw time. So for example, my raw time here, my best run was a 43.940. After they've applied my PAX for C Street, it's a 35.547. However, George Emery, he did a slower raw time, a 44.645, but a C Street car should be significantly faster than a G Street, so he's got a different PAX modifier than me. So after applying their modifier, he was down to a 35.18, meaning he drove closer to the ideal time than I did. So now if you're not big into autocross, maybe this will slightly make sense. I've been doing this for a long time and it still doesn't quite all match up to me, but that's what we're dealing with. So I know these are results. We're going to talk about those, but first I wanted to talk about data. So I got these cool sheets from autocrossdigits.com. They're free. Anybody can go and print them out. They're right on their main page. And they're great to use because they've got temperature, time of day, tire pressures, tire temp, time of run, suspension clicks, cones, and then a comment area. And then you can use them. I bought literally a regular clipboard to put all of this on. We keep it in the car with us, and that's what we used or attempted to use during this event to keep track of things. So you can see on here the temperatures were cold, but not too bad at the time of day I was running. Kept track of my tire pressures, what the tires felt like by hand. I did not have a infrared thermometer yet or a pyrometer for the tires. So I'm kind of going like literally on the back of my hand. And then what I could remember of the time of run. This isn't quite important to get down to the 100th and stuff like that because you're going to have that on these. It's more of a, okay, like I dropped a second or a half second or a couple of tenths or whatever. And then the suspension clicks. The other thing is, in the notes I was putting in like what my competitors were running that I could see to try and kind of get a gauge because this was literally the first event. So it's really cool and a good idea to collect as much data as you can because the more data you have, the better choices you can make. So the results of that were I ended up, as you saw here, second in class overall in the Street 2 Index and winning C Street. So this is me, just to make that easier there for you. The next closest C Street car was Bruce Harmon, who did a 44.298. So I was a little over 0.3 quicker than him. Again, another weirdo autocross thing for those of you not into autocross or just learning about it. SCCA, only the first 3 runs count. Anything after that is a fun run. So even though my times got better, my 43.602 here was my best time, these runs are non-competition runs. The bold here is everyone's best time. On this particular day, it all happened to be our third, but that's not always that way. Here's the second run that's the best. There's a second run that's the best. So only your first 3 counts. So yeah, I started off with a 45.5, went down to a 43.7, but nagged a cone, slowed down a little bit to a 43.9, but cleaned it up. And then later on in the fun runs, I did a couple of 43.6s clean. So I found the car, found how fast I could get, and just kind of stayed there, which is fine. But yeah, so we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in C Street. And we were the fastest one out, first time out, which was really cool, and second fastest in the index. Chuck Jarvie here, that's the yellow Boxster that we looked at in the video on Annual Tech. And of course, his car is different. It's not to full C Street modifications. He races in Porsche Club's production class, so he has to run stock size tires. He cannot have adjustable suspension. He cannot have a sway bar, and a bunch of other things like that. And then they run with the spare tire and all that stuff in. So it's not quite apples to our car. Plus, he does have a hardtop, which is, I think he said, was like 200 pounds to the top of the car. So, but that's where Chuck ended up. So that's just kind of an overview of our times. Now, this is great for index and all. I wanted to know how I did overall. So this is results for Group 2. On this particular day, I ran Group 2. And again, my raw time here, this 43.940, if you look through all of these other times to find any other times that were faster, there's 1, 2. I think there's a second page of this one though. Yeah. And then there's page 2. So literally only 2 other cars set a faster raw time than me in competition runs the first time out. So I was the 3rd fastest raw time in my run group, which is pretty amazing. I actually didn't realize I was 3rd in that on that particular day. And some of these classes, there's some pretty mean classes. Non-stock 1 has A Street prepared, B Street prepared. Non-stock 4 has, STS, STR, STU. STU is like really high horsepower cars and stuff. Only one person driving though, so, but still, I mean, super stock in Street 1, F stock or F Street, so that's your pony car class. So that's like your new Mustangs and Camaros and stuff. So I mean, we're talking fast cars here. So that was really good to see that as well. And then I also print out complete overall. This is the entire event. With the weather we had, there was significant weather difference between the morning and the afternoon run. So you can't like totally look at it, but it's useful info because you can kind of gauge yourself if you're running against the same people a lot. You can see like, okay, I'm always like right by that guy, right? Which I can pick on Rio because he is our region president. I'm usually really close to Rio. So if I can see myself inching closer to him or possibly getting over him this year, that will show me driving improvement or car improvement versus where I am now. So yeah, so for the first event, index time, so that would be your PAX time. Once they did the modifier, I was 22nd out of 76. And then raw, I was 25th, also out of the 76. So that's just how you do overall. And again, it's not really like that's where I am. It's more of a tracking over the course of the season against a lot of the same people. So like I can go, okay, Jeff Peterson, he's another good buddy, and his car is an STX class RX-8, and it's actually really closely matched to our car. You can see our raw times there, 43.4 to a 43.9. So all season, I know Jeff is going to make it to all the classes, so I'll keep an eye on him, and we'll see, like, do we get closer? Do we get further apart? Like, and if I go down, is he going down too? Like, is it our run group went down, or that particular course wasn't good for our cars because the cars are very similar? That's the kind of information you're looking for with this. So data, you really have to implement it correctly to understand it. But this is the start. Is you got to have it all. I like hard copy because yes, this is all on the internet. but it does eventually get deleted. Like, you're not going to go find your run times from 2006 anymore. So it's kind of a good idea to print this out, put it together, keep it with the car, or keep it with your stuff from the car or the event, so that you can use it over the course of the year to improve your driving or improve the car and track, like, do changes help? Like, if I put a sway bar on the car and suddenly I drop down, maybe that sway bar wasn't the right move. Or with suspension settings and stuff, like, if I start fiddling around with it and really starting to learn things, or tire pressures, am I improving compared to where I generally am, or am I, going the wrong direction? So that was event 1. We also have event 2, which was the following day. Now, in event 2, it was a little different. I ran in the morning instead of the afternoon. In fact, here is the charts. My co-driver did not have a chance to use it that day, which is totally cool. But same kind of day, same kind of weather, like this weather split. So, like, see, the first event I was running in like 46-degree weather. The second event I'm running in 37-degree weather. It did warm up quite a bit, not quite to that, but it was like a 7-degree difference by the time the afternoon came around. So that's also important to note on, like, how the car responds, like, say for tire pressures. Like, look, I mean, dead cold. I could not get any heat at all into the tires before we started, no matter what I tried to do. That's just what I got stuck with. And then, like, what your tire pressures and what the tires look, respond like from them, and, like, how well the car does. You can see I needed to get them up to at least a slightly warm temperature and at least into like 34, 35 range before they really worked, which, looking from the day before, 35 and higher pressures, and that's really where they were working. So ideally I should have put some air in the tires on this particular morning, and really try to get more heat into them. We're going to look at this, some tire blankets, or homemaking some things that we saw other people using to keep some heat in the tires in the morning. So after we go through tech and stuff, we can throw them on the car and at least kind of keep them to where they're slightly warm, so they start there instead of dead cold, and then maybe we can get them up to a real operating temperature. I also, like, in notes, I try to put in here more notes. So lots of understeer, tires too cold. Still little understeer, tires cold. And then third run, wow, all of a sudden tires were awesome. Even though they were still really cold, like, they finally got something going. And then I had somebody ride with me, so like that time, but still with a passenger, yelling at me to look ahead, look ahead, look ahead. And then I could go out and do it. But, I had to eat a couple of cones. Anyways, those runs didn't count. So, once again, class results for S2, I ended up second overall in the index, although this time I was also second in class. Matthew Turner pit me. I'm not even sure what he drives. I'd have to go look it up. But again, lots of cars in C Street. It's a nice, healthy class, and that's what I want. I wanted a lot of cars to compete against, a lot of people to talk with, compare notes, things like that. So, raw time 45,001, and then we packs out the same because we're both in C Street. So, his faster time is going to be faster than my time anyway. But yeah, that's where we ended up in day 2. And once again, I did the group runs. And so this is everybody in the morning group. And here I am with the 45,001. And there was 144, and I think... No, yeah, there was the 143. That was really fluky, and not 44, yeah. So I was the 4th fastest overall raw time in competition runs in my run group day 2. So 3rd fastest day 1, 4th fastest day 2, so it wasn't really a fluke. The car seems to be really good. I seem to be able to drive it well, so we'll see if that holds out and holds true, and we can continue on that path and develop the car more and develop my driving more and get to where I'm doing good, or maybe even at the top of that run group sheet. I end up results for Coop. We're missing some papers here. Oh, there we go. I left them on the ground. So here is all of event 2 overall, and I'm almost in the exact same spots. 23rd instead of 22nd, 30th instead of 26th or 25th, whatever it was. And again, talking about looking for my buddies, right? So there's Jeff Peterson. a little further away by spots, and a little further away by times. So Jeff drove better than me this day compared to the day prior, but we're still kind of pretty comparable. So I just got to watch where him and I are going to be. So like if I drop way down here, if Jeff is still kind of within a couple of me, then it's like, okay, it wasn't a good course for CS cars or like our run group. But if I'm down here and he's up there, then it's like, oh, I screwed up, or I screwed up the car, or something like that. So again, it's about reading your data, using your data to continue to improve. And then here is points. So this is points for the season. I got second twice, and the people that won were both different. So I am in second place overall for the season with 32 points. We have 13 events this year. You have to go to more than half of them, so 7 events, and then they drop 2. So I guess technically you could kind of do 5. I don't know how that works, but yeah, so there are a couple I'm going to have to miss totally, so I will be dropping zeros. So every one of these events that I can make it to, those points are going to matter. So that's kind of where we're doing, and there's my co-driver, and she was the only one in her class, although she did kick butt overall. So she is leading her class as well in the S2 ladies. So that is our results from the first 2 events with Project Porsche. That's how we did. That's how the car did. Those are our results and how we've read them, and this is our raw data and how we got it. Hopefully, those of you that don't autocross learned some stuff here, and maybe you can apply it to your form of racing, or if you're looking into trying autocross, hopefully you pick something up that you can take back and use, even if it's just heading over there and using their free sheets. And again, not sponsored by anybody, not plugging them, just hey, it's free on their website, go use it, right? Like hit print. It's not that big a deal, you're buying your own paper and ink. So that's it for this episode of Project Porsche, and the next video is going to be a montage of nothing but driving and none of my droning on. So if that's the kind of video you're looking for, we'll see you on the next one.